قويا مؤثرا فاعلا، وبيننا وبينهم ما زالت الأيام.
It's a nervous countdown in West Asia, a countdown to an attack that feels inevitable. More military muscle is coming into the region, frantic diplomacy is underway, and airlines are staying away from the skies. All classic signs of an impending attack. The only question is the time and scale. Iran had promised to attack Israel last week. US intelligence said they would attack on Monday, but so far it's all been silent. So tonight we're looking at Iran's impending attack. What explains the delay? How is the West preparing? And will Iran's proxies stay loyal? Because the indications are the axis is divided. And don't get us wrong here. We are not saying that Iran should launch an attack. If they're showing restraint, it's great. Maybe Israel and the US should learn from them. But logic says an attack will come. The only question is how and when. Let's look at what Tehran has been doing. First, they raised the issue at the United Nations Security Council. They made their intentions quite clear. A retaliation would come. Then they began speaking to allies. On Monday, a top Russian security official visited Tehran. He was carrying a message from Vladimir Putin. And what did the Russian president have to say? Avoid civilian casualties. That was Putin's message to Iran. I wish he would heed his own advice in Ukraine, but that's a different issue. Along with the message, Russia also gave some weapons, air defense systems and radars. You can't use these weapons to attack Israel, but you can defend against a response. So maybe Tehran was waiting for these weapons. Which brings us to the third step, diplomatic support. On Wednesday, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, held a meeting. The OIC is a group of 57 Islamic countries. They claim to represent all Muslims in the world. And look at their joint statement. This is what they said. We hold Israel fully responsible for the heinous attack on Ismail Haniyeh, which constitutes a crime of aggression and a serious infringement of the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and national security of the Islamic Republic of Iran. That's what the OIC said. Their message is quite clear. Israel is completely at fault. They're not asking Iran to hold back, but Western countries are. They want Iran to de-escalate.
We don't want to see this conflict escalate. We certainly don't want to see any sort of all-out regional war. And there's not a whole lot of indications that other parties here want to see the same thing, which is why we're working really, really hard with intense diplomacy to try to avoid an escalation.
And it's not just words. The US is using military deterrence too. They have moved more assets to West Asia. One extra squadron of F-22 fighter jets, multiple Navy cruisers, naval destroyers, and land-based missile defense systems. The US is also sending a new aircraft carrier, the Abraham Lincoln. It is currently sailing in the Eastern Pacific. The US is routing it to West Asia. And don't forget, this is all additional deployment. The Americans already have a lot of assets in the region. Some 80 combat aircraft, 80. More than a dozen warships. And 4,500 sailors. So Washington is ready to step in and defend Israel. Is that why Iran is delaying? Well, it is possible. But a bigger worry would be Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu has shown that he has no red lines whatsoever, whether it's in Gaza or Lebanon or Iran. So the response must be carefully calibrated. If it's too strong, Israel may hit back hard. If it's too weak, no one will take Iran seriously. And finding that balance is tough. Maybe Iran will take a few more days to find it. Or maybe they'll find it tonight. Who knows? But their proxies could be running out of patience. Just look at the Hezbollah. Israel killed their top commander last month, that too in a suburb of Beirut. Since October last year, Israel has killed more than 300 Hezbollah fighters, so they are eager to hit back.
Our response is coming. This is the first, alone or with the axis of resistance, because these hypotheses exist. We can all respond at one time, or it will depend on the interest of the axis that everyone can respond according to his time, in his own way, and up to the goals that he chooses.
That was Hassan Nasrallah, the chief of Hezbollah, and what he said is very consequential. Nasrallah says he may attack Israel alone, meaning without Iranian support, and that is a big deal. Hezbollah is an Iranian proxy group in Lebanon. They're armed and funded by Iran. It's all part of their grand axis of resistance. That's what they call it. The Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, and the Hamas in Gaza. But is this so-called axis splintering? Just look at the Houthis. On Wednesday, they attacked 2 American warships in the region. Again, was this sanctioned by Iran, or are the proxies doing their own thing? It's a strategic concern for Tehran. Yes, they are godfather to these proxy groups, but godfathers are supposed to protect. Iran could not protect Ismail Haniyeh in their own capital. So why should other proxies trust them? It's a very complicated situation for the regime in Tehran. They must appease the public, they must reassure the proxies, establish deterrence, avoid escalation, and protect civilians. Which is why the retaliation is taking so long. The rest of the world will be watching closely. All we can do is prepare. Multiple airlines have started avoiding Iranian and Lebanese airspaces. Some US carriers have also stopped flights to Tel Aviv. So the signs are not looking good. We'll be tracking this story closely.
Climate change is on our doorstep. It's time for a revolution to take root. And it starts with 1.4 billion Indians. It starts with one tree for humanity, one tree for Mother Earth, one tree for our future. Project One Tree, a News 18 network initiative.